According to the Fraser Institute, states in northern Mexico soar past their southern neighbors economically, not because of their proximity to the United States, but rather because they are more economically free. And for my next guest, with 2 projects in northern Mexico, this is a reality that could net their company's shareholders some just desserts. Pediment Gold's 2 advanced stage gold projects are located in the northern states of Sonora and Baja California Sur, both with greater than 1 million ounces inferred or better. Today we've got the President and CEO, Gary Freeman, and VP of Exploration, Mel Herdrick, with us. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for being here today.
Nice to be on, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Hi. So why don't we start by finding out how you 2 met and how you got into business together.
Mel and I met in, I think, about 2002, and Mel had spent a number of years in Mexico with Phelps Dodge and had some specific ideas of what he wanted to do in Mexico from an exploration mining standpoint. I was intrigued. We spent some time together. I flew down to Mexico, looked at the property, spent some time with Mel, and from that point forward, we decided to build a public company.
Right. So skipping forward now, you've already developed here at San Antonio in particular a substantial resource. It's 1.5 million ounces. Tell us what you know so far about that.
San Antonio is a different type of deposit that's much like what people call the mesquite sort of deposit. It's more disseminated. It's related to granitic rocks. It's also hosted in gneissic metamorphic rocks, and it appears to have fairly large potential for very large deposits.
So what does that mean? Like, if you can make an analogy for us with another existing mine in the neighborhood, who would you compare it to?
Well, again, Mesquite would be a good example, and it's an open pit heap leach gold mine.
Tonnage?
Tonnage is, I'd think, in the 100 million ton range.
Right,
and
so this is a widely disseminated, low-grade, open pit type deposit.
Correct,
that you're looking
yeah.
at. Okay, and we can go to Cherno here, actually, cherno.net, and look at some of the numbers that you found so far. Now, we've got in the measured category, which is great because this is where investors can start to think about making some economic assumptions, 47 million tons, better than a gram per ton.
Correct.
Right.
So what does that look like in terms of the drill programs that you've carried out already?
It's what we've done is a fairly well dense drilling program of drill holes that are both RC and core, and it has very good continuity between drill holes. Some areas are higher grade, and it appears to have a high grade central core to it. And it appears to have extension possibility as well.
Gotcha. So maybe Gary, you can talk a bit about what's the plan on the spend moving forward here. What are you going to commit to this cash-wise to take it along?
Well, our plan this year is to work a lot in the San Antonio district. Last year we spent more time, or we spent time there focusing more on things like water acquisitions and acquiring the surface rights above the deposit, because as you know, or certainly in Mexico, the ejido, or the community land tenure holder, is a group you have to deal with. Mining rights are available. You have to negotiate the surface rights with the landowners.
Gotcha.
So we spent a lot of time doing these sorts of things, and they're important because without them, you know, if you can't access the deposit area, obviously you can't mine it. So we spent a lot of time doing those sorts of things. At the same time, working in another area of the company, La Colorado. We spent a lot of time over there last year. So we're back at San Antonio. We have now a 43-101 that defines about 1.6 million ounces, 1.6.5 million ounces. About 95% of it is in the measured indicated category. We did a number of tightly spaced holes over the last couple of years, and so our intention is to do some land use changes so we can continue to drill in the discovery zone, but at the same time move south downtrend to look at some of the or 2 or 3 of the other targets that Mel spoke about.
Sure. In the other area, right? Gary, why don't you explain the importance of the ejido to us? Because that's a central factor in you moving ahead, I guess.
Well, it's probably an essential factor for anybody in Mexico moving ahead, because without getting into the history of it, the ejido has been around since the early 1900s, and it really points to the community ownership of the surface rights with respect to agricultures and for ways for the community to feed themselves and make a living. And it's important to note that, well, you can buy buy the surface, pardon me, well, you can buy the mining rights. The surface rights, you have to deal with the locals. And that, in many cases, can stop a company dead in its tracks.
Mel, this is a good question for you, I think. Your La Colorada mine is located in Sonora. It's a big gold country. And all around you are existing past producers and producers. La Herradura is a huge mine there. Alamos has a big mine. What are the similarities between yours and those? What's promising about it?
It's different, but it's in an excellent trend of gold mines through the state of Sonora and on across into Chihuahua. It's a large gold mine that's located between Herradura and the Mulatos district. It's epithermal in character, which means it's low temperature. The other things that are very positive for it is it's very close to infrastructure. It has highways, power lines, and water all available, as we do in Baja too. So
it's a great point. I just want to draw you over to the map at Cherno, because if we zoom in here, we can get right in on the project, and you can see you're at the town of La Colorada.
Correct.
You've got a highway right there. You've got some, obviously, water and electricity and so on, and the existing past producing mine. So let's talk a bit about that. What was there and what's left behind?
The latest cycle of production was 1990s by El Dorado, and it was open pit, heap leach, and it looks like there's a good resource for that to continue. We're evaluating that, and we're also evaluating the high-grade vein system that goes to deeper levels, as much as 300 to 400 meters depth underground. And both of those are going to be evaluation targets in both terms of drilling and economic evaluations for the future.
And I'm looking at the grades here and the tonnage in Cherno, and it's not unlike actually the San Antonio project in a way. It's quite a large tonnage that you've already developed here, with grades that are, I'd say, reasonable for a mine of this tonnage. How much more do you feel you have to prove up to take it farther?
I would like to see us increase it up to around 2 million ounces, and also and bring in a substantial resource of higher grade underground mineable material. And so both of those would maybe take it up over 2.5 million ounces. And I think that we can do that there. It's a very large mineralized system, about 7 kilometers long. With the vein
Well,
system.
how much, 7 kilometers, and how much drilling have you done in there already?
We've completed about 10,000 meters over the last 2 years in two different campaigns.
Gary, let's talk a bit about how you're going to move these ahead from a cash position standpoint. You're a financial guy. How are you keeping the cash rolling in to keep the company moving along?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with how we spend our money. We've been very, very careful to make sure that every dollar goes a long way. And that's easy to do when you have had some success, because you add more success with every project or every piece of the project you do. Primarily, we've been working on doing private placements, but we haven't had to do any in a dilutive sense because we've been lucky and we've been able to see the stock price rise again. We probably will continue to finance that way, because unless we did some type of a joint venture or something else that would generate a cash flow, I couldn't see it actually coming in any other way. So private placements, keeping the share structure tight, being mindful and trying to get them done as high a price as possible.
Right, and you're at a fairly early stage still. You're moving into, I think on both projects, you'd probably categorize it as a scoping study stage. These things get more expensive as you go along.
Certainly, absolutely. And it's important that you show the public that you're going in that direction, certainly the finance side of the world. And so we are looking towards PEA, scoping studies, pre-feasibility studies, because you get to a point where what do you do with the project? Either you sell it or you develop it.
Can you give us some dates at all before we wrap this up?
I think what we'll do next is we've announced the drilling program on the Baja. There'll be certainly mapping and sampling, probably IP shot over there. So we're going to see a lot of preliminary drilling work going on over the next 2, maybe 3 months. We'll then get into a drilling phase. we're going to definitely need to make some filings with the government. As I had said earlier, we have probably extended the limit of our drilling in the deposit area on the Baja, and what we will then do is make some changes and then move directly south. We think, I guess, over the last Mel is going to be running the program. Over the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be moving into the drilling phase. With a little luck, we should hopefully see the stock trade a little stronger, and we might look at a financing at that point. We're not really sure. I don't think a financing is in the cards tomorrow, but it's an opportunity.
Yeah. Guys, thanks a lot for coming in and telling us all about the company. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mel.